steaks cooked medium rare.
Can I get my steak cooked just
That want no question.
Ever get the feeling that perhaps your restaurant server, for whatever reason, just doesn't seem to like you? Well, here to confirm for you that you just might be right are 10 reasons as to why your server hates you. Part 2. Ignoring the wait to be seated sign.
No coaching there, Lombardi. Read the sign. No coaching.
Signs are typically there for a reason. They generally serve a purpose with some sort of important directive. You wouldn't ignore a red traffic light telling you to stop your car while driving, so why do so many people feel as though the wait to be seated sign is merely a suggestion at restaurants? Granted, yes, one has significantly higher safety risks than the other, but the sign is written in clear language at the front of the restaurant stating wait to be seated, which means that a host will accompany you to a table that makes sense for the restaurant.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
There could be a million reasons why the resto wants a staff member to escort you to the table. For one thing, it better controls the influx of diners eating at a given time and better manages the kitchen and server workload. Not to mention, restaurant employees need to clean or clear the table first. Why someone would want to eat at a table that hasn't even been cleared yet, we will never know. Either way, ignoring this sign can easily get your server to hate you. Walking past a clear signal that indicates how to make their job easier and ignoring it is also a sign of disrespect. Disrespect the res.
We actually don't have a reservation.
We've been trying to call, but we couldn't get through.
Restaurant life is a carefully choreographed ballet when it comes to accommodating patrons. Everything that goes into making sure everything is prepped and ready for diners takes real effort. While it doesn't always work out with exact precision, even when you do show up on time, chances are that if you are late for your reservation or even show up with more people than originally stated, chaos will ensue. You may not see the beads of sweat on your server's face, but we can almost guarantee that you've just heightened the stress factor for the restaurant staff and made their job that much harder.
Horse!
So make sure not to disrespect the res and to show up on time with the appropriate number of people. Otherwise, you're just going to have to accept the side eye from your server. And to be honest, if you're showing up for a 6:30 reservation at 7:15 with 3 extra people to serve, you're almost asking for the side eye treatment. Just because you are paying for a service does not mean that you can do what you want without being conscious of the other party. You've still got to use common sense even if you're paying for something. And showing up late or with too many people is definitely a no-no. Ignoring your server.
No, he's ignoring me completely.
Acting like you're somehow better than your server is never a good look. In fact, it's just downright not nice at all. We all know someone who makes us cringe when out at a restaurant with them. Either they always find something wrong with the food, or they use a tone we wish they wouldn't.
Let me ask you something. How hard is your job?
But one surefire way to get on a server's bad side is by disregarding them altogether. You know, when a waiter makes their rounds and says, "How y'all doing?" or "How's it going today?" This is supposed to be met with an actual response, not with the barking of orders or food-related questions. Your server is a person, a human being with a life and feelings, who has good and bad days just like the rest of us. Don't contribute to making that server's day a bad one by ignoring them completely. When restaurant staff engages with you, engage back. If they say, "Hi, how are you?" a simple "Good, how are you?" is all it takes. Or perhaps a more detailed response that actually reflects your day. But don't treat them like robots where they're purely to satisfy your culinary needs, because they're not that. If kindness isn't reason enough to pay attention to your server, then think about it this way. Servers are the gatekeepers to the kitchen. And besides, isn't that why you wanted to go out and eat in the first place? Complaining and blaming it on the staff.
No!
Just go home.
No!
While we may treat them like temporary superheroes who bring us piping hot and delicious meals, restaurant servers are not, in fact, temporary supermen. We know, when they're escorting your burger to the table or holding your pasta so lovingly balanced on their arms with other plates, they may look like they are heaven sent. But we're telling you, restaurant servers put on their pants the same way as you do in the morning, one leg at a time. So when you make complaints about things that no one can actually fix, like the weather if you're sitting on a patio, or even, let's say, if the valet took too long to take the keys to your car when you arrived, then perhaps you must accept the fact that you might just like to complain. Oh, and it's not a good look when you start acting like any and every issue is the wait staff's fault. Yelling at your server is definitely the most direct path to getting your server to hate you.
Think about it.
In fact, at that point, they may even start to detest you completely. So if your goal is to get restaurant staff to add your face to the most hated customers list, then proceed. But if you're just looking to enjoy a nice meal, then perhaps keep the obnoxious behavior to a minimum. Hitting on the staff.
Are you flirting with me?
It depends.
Now, if you enter almost anyone's workplace, you would understand that they are at work, which is otherwise known as a flirtation-free zone. 9 times out of 10, if you flirt with someone while they are at work, they will give you some sort of neutral response out of fear of being unprofessional on the job. Except for some reason, when it comes to the service industry, this social norm goes out the window. People hit on restaurant servers as if it's all part of the gig.
How sad is that?
Well, extra, newsflash, it's not. Hitting on waitstaff is not only inappropriate, but it can also be demeaning, uncomfortable, and more often than not, pretty sexist. Service with a smile is a customer service mantra that most restaurant servers abide by. So those grinning teeth are not necessarily being flashed in your direction with flirtatious intent. It's more about keeping one's job and getting a nice tip. That's central to hospitality as a whole. Using a trip to the restaurant as an opportunity to flirt with restaurant staff is not exactly what the experience was designed for. So maybe save the flirting for dating and save the more platonic forms of communication for restaurant staff. Besides, if your intention is to flirt and get on a server's good side, it may have the exact opposite effect. It may not be on the menu, but...
Our special today is coho salmon.
Sounds disgusting. Do you have chicken fingers?
Yes, the "can you make this" request. We've all heard someone attempt this type of order. You may have even been that person making the attempt, and heck, you may have even been successful with it. But that doesn't mean that the server likes you for doing it, and that definitely doesn't mean that the kitchen was happy either. Ordering something not on the menu has its limits, as there are certain scenarios where it's considered okay, and those where it is not. For instance, if you were looking for a simple variation on something that is listed on the menu, then chances are that the restaurant can accommodate your request. But when the item is discontinued, or maybe from the breakfast menu, but you're asking for it at, say, 7 p.m., then the staff might start to furrow their eyebrows at you just a little bit. Ordering something not on the menu is definitely risque, but depending on what you're ordering, it could be seen as acceptable. After all, some people have allergies or dietary restrictions, and the restaurant industry as a whole gets that.
Ah, very nice.
Make alterations to your order, but just don't go overboard with the requests. After all, the restaurant has quality, efficiency, and overall customer satisfaction to think of. You are not the only patron there. Discounts and freebies are a pleasant surprise.
Surprise!
Surprise, Cindy.
A discount or freebie is a pleasant surprise when it happens, not a perk to be expected on an everyday basis. Case in point, consider the old school buyback policy that bars used to use for some of their regulars. Back in the day, bars would give a regular customer every 3rd or 4th drink on the house. While some establishments still use the buyback policy today, it is less popular at franchises and chains. But where it is used, sometimes customers attempt to abuse this kindness on the part of the restaurant, which is not even an obligation.
So take full advantage.
Keep in mind, a busy night on the weekend may result in a very different take on the buyback policy than, say, on a cold night during the week. Since the use of the policy is up to the resto's discretion, a customer really has no grounds to complain when they do not receive a free drink. The worst thing you could possibly do is request your free drink in front of other patrons, drawing attention to a policy that the restaurant may only want to use on a limited basis. Expecting freebies and discounts is a pretty good way to get disappointed, but thinking of them as a pleasant surprise when you do receive them is an unfailing way to end up with a smile on your face. Be conscious of time.
What is taking so long? I wasted all day!
While going to restaurants is a pastime most of us enjoy on the semi-regular, for the servers and staff, every minute means business.
Money, 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 money.
So make sure not to take too long to order or to stay too long after your meal, as that is lost dollar signs for your server. Restaurant servers maximize the amount of money they make by turning a table multiple times throughout a shift. The more people they can serve, the better. So if you're spending 25 minutes waiting for your Tinder date to arrive, then 10 minutes talking before ordering after the date finally does arrive, you better make up for that chunk of time by enjoying your food swiftly and making a quick exit for the door when you're done. While no one wants for you to scarf down your meal, it would be wise for all of us to be conscious of the time when dining out. After all, we may be enjoying the luxurious experience of being served a meal, but restaurant staff is there to make a living. Splitting the bill.
No. We're not splitting the bill. Pick up the check.
Now, we know that this one can be awkward for everyone involved, but it can also lead to a headache for your server. Asking waitstaff to split your bill for you is a pretty good route to becoming a hated customer. While splitting the bill an even amount on separate cards can be rather simple given the advances in modern technology, asking your server to calculate how much each person owes exactly down to the number of chicken wings consumed per person is a major faux pas.
It's too much! It's too much!
If splitting the bill in this manner is an absolute necessity for you, we recommend either letting the server know as soon as you sit down that it's going to be split this way, or making the calculations yourself. It may seem like common sense, but you'd be surprised at how many people expect the server to do all of the work for them. Just because they're on the clock doesn't mean that restaurant staff are required to facilitate our every whim, need, or desire. Waiters can refuse to split the bill for you, so be prepared to get your calculator out and compute exactly how much you owe. Seems like a small effort to make to keep your server from hating you. To tip or not to tip?
Everyone put in $20 each. Yes, I'll cover you.
Many people are confused when it comes to tipping. They take the custom as a mere suggestion over being an expected requirement of the restaurant dining experience.
You are unbelievable!
While tipping varies between cultures all over the world, some people don't know how to tip at all. And yeah, okay, we would like to tell people to wise up to the necessity of providing a gratuity after receiving service, but this would not be the case all over the world. For instance, in China, it would be perceived as potentially embarrassing or rude to leave a tip. Meanwhile, not leaving a tip in Canada is almost perceived as a dine and dash type scenario. It's that frowned upon. So make sure that you know how to tip appropriately depending on your jurisdiction. A simple Google search should do.
Easy peasy.
Get a taste of more great videos. Just tap or click. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to join our notification squad. And hey, leave us a comment.